I had this experience yesterday too with lights in my face and I see absolutely nothing. But anyway, désolé mes amis, c'est tout, c'est fini. Je m'appelle Harald Neerland, je suis le président prochain de Autism.
I'm the next president of Autism-Europe, and I will not continue in French, sorry.
We've come to the end of the Congress, and for me at least, it's been an interesting educational and thought-provocative experience. Daniel Langlois, President of Autism France, summed up the aspirations of the conference as promote the participation of autistic people in all aspects of life while respecting their differences. And almost said the fun part about a conference like this is meeting people from all walks of life, and every single one of them express a willingness and a wish to listen to the voice of people with autism. So maybe that's the new dynamic that we're talking about. But if you look up dynamic on the web, you get various definitions. I got my favorite. It's a force, especially political, social, or psychological, an interactive system or progress, especially one involving competing or conflicting forces. Now, we all know that there are a lot of different views, different thoughts within the autism family, but there is in the exchange of these views and these ideas and the understanding of what people think and mean that we actually move forward. I don't know how many is actually, there's times I feel like that when I talk to professionals. Not necessarily, or actually I shouldn't say professionals, it's more when you first meet doctors who hasn't seen a person with autism. But change requires cooperation between scientists, people on the spectrum, their families, practitioners, and probably more important, national, regional, and local government. This conference has actually achieved bringing the three first of those groups together. And we need to be together to be able to talk together. Cooperation also implies the ability to communicate. I have a daughter who's minimally has minimal language, and as her sister likes to say, for somebody who can't speak, she talks an awful lot. We need to learn to listen to the voices of the people on the autism spectrum. I've seen I'll do it in French also. We've seen new research and actually new takes on known truth about autism. But in this almost sea of knowledge, scientific knowledge, it's very simple to forget that what families need is practical help and practical application of the new knowledge. But it's equally important to recognize that when arguing with governments and local authorities for better services, the only currency that's out there is actually research. Personally, I've felt that presenters has managed to make research understandable. It's kind of difficult to understand everything when you see numbers and N's and P's and percentages. I think you guys have, those of you who has presented, have done a good job at that. There's one challenge, though, that I would like to throw at you. Actually, there's more than one. First of all, how can we practically use the new knowledge? What impact has this to do for the practitioners, for families, and where does it point us? And before Amy Klein came up and showed us the cost of the diagnosis, I also wanted to throw the challenge of what is the socioeconomic impact of what you're doing. I've been involved in the autism community for over 20 years, and if there's one thing I've learned, it is that there are as many focus areas as there are manifestations of autism. I think I see a new dynamic in the focus of more and different aspects of the diagnosis, things like girl and autism, somatic health, mental health, aging, but also in the willingness to show different ways of having community living and having the individual aspect of community living included. So in my journeys through the years here, I've met many fantastic peoples, scientists, practitioners, parents, and not the least self-advocates. I've also actually met people in governmental positions that are great people, but there's times you tend to think they're hard to see. This particular conference, there's been a recurring thought that's been popping into my brain. My brain works funny ways at times, and that is, we sure come a long way since Leo Connor, and conferences like this will move us further still. Okay. Une conférence comme celui-ci ne sera pas réalisable sans...
No conference like this would be feasible without all the voluntaries. The Autism France, here they are, you got them, the volunteers. I want to thank Autism France and Daniel Langlois, and especially for the organization of this excellent congress. This was 2 years ago.
Facility, and we started planning in honesty. That time we had hopes of meeting the attendance of previous conferences, particularly the one in Edinburgh. So we got closer. The panic probably hit us about June when we really realized that we were bursting at the seams. The problem with growing is that more space costs more money. And, whoops, I'm going the wrong way. And we've been lucky to have support from public, private foundations, and actually partners also. I'm really grateful for the support that you have given us. I guess I'm biased in how I view this conference, having been part of the journey from concept to execution. But personally, I've enjoyed some great presentations on topics we normally do not talk about. I'd like to thank Professor Frédéric Bonneau-Briot and the entire scientific committee for creating an exciting program. Going the wrong way again. There you guys are. Professor Sven Bolta, Steph Bonneau-Briot, Professor Tony Chairman, Dr. James Cusack, Dr. Deja Saravan, Dr. Donata Vivanti, Professor Eric Villet, and Professor Monica Silbovicius. And apology if I don't get the pronunciation of the name correctly. We received 730 abstracts from 58 countries, and despite the fact that the scientific committee is great and talented, they would have had a hard time going through all of that material. Thankfully, we've had help of researchers and field professionals, as well as persons on the spectrum and family members who did the job for them. I can't give you their faces, but these are actually their names. The 76 of them, they've done a fantastic job, and we'd still be going through abstracts if it wasn't for them. Little note on a personal side, these guys has given me a great and educational trip in organizing this conference. Aurélie Baranger, our director in Brussels, I mentioned on Frelot before, Carol Povey of National Autistic Society, and Jacqueline Massourian-Robert from Autism France, and Isabelle Verdier-Rénard, also Autism France. One that doesn't show up here is the professional conference organizers that we've used, Eventime. And again, you've done a fantastic job. We've concluded a great conference, and I hope that it has given new ideas and inspirations to keep working to unlock the questions surrounding autism, and also finding practical ways of applying the knowledge. For Autism Europe, the next leg in the journey is towards our next conference, so let's see if we can do it again in 3 years' time. I'm pleased to introduce Marcin Chrysanowski. He's the Vice President of Jim Foundation, and he's going to tell you more about the next Autism Europe conference in Krakow. Thank you.